Hello and welcome to the DFS Coach Talk podcast. Today is Tuesday, February 25th, and I am Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach. And I am going solo today and going to go over what we're calling the Lucky 7 game slate. So let's crush this today. We had a little hiccup yesterday. It was our first loss as a group. So we own it and move on. Certainly didn't enjoy Brandon Clark getting hurt and old Giannis getting in foul trouble. But, that's all part of the game, and we all know that. And that's part of it as we go. But we're 4-1 so far, which is a great start for DFS Coach Talk. And I have moved to 54-22. One on the downside there yesterday, but that's all right. Today we come back with a vengeance. We have a really cool 7-game card, and I am really looking forward to breaking this down for you guys. Again, we ask you to please go to DFSCoachTalk.com. Check out what we've got there. Look to join our community. We've got one of the best DFS communities growing that are out there. I know we're new, but our growth and our listenership, especially on our podcast, is fantastic. So we have a hell of a team, and we're having a lot of fun doing it. So also, at DFS Coach Talk, follow us on Twitter, and you want to follow all of our pros also, because we're posting stuff throughout the day and as everything's going on, especially up to lock. I'm at Joe Sarvati, JoeSarvadi. Andrew is at Language Olympic, and Mike is at Mike Apotria, MikeApotria. And again, we're all jumping in there on the DFS Coach Talk Twitter as well. So join us there, and we're going to continue to grow this sucker and get more and more input from everybody, and we're excited about it. So, all right, without any further ado, we're going to do our favorite thing initially each day, which is go over the player news. And again, it's a little laborious at times, but it's a very, very important piece of the day's news. When we start looking to build some of these lineups, we have to know what the scenario is with people in, out, restricted minutes, and all of that fun. So here's what we have up to the moment. We have Terrence Ferguson for the Thunder is in. Andrew Wiggins for the Warriors is in. Bruce Brown, who's been playing some really good ball, he's 50-50 questionable tonight for the Pistons. So that's something we want to keep an eye on. Lakers list Davis 75% improbable. They have every single game, and he plays. So unless something downgrades for him, I would say you can almost 100% count him in. Kemba Walker remains out for Boston, and that's tonight against the Blazers. So that's a tough one for Boston. Denzel Valentine is doubtful. He is improving, so we should see him sometime this week, but 25% doubtful tag for him. Luke Cornett is out for the Bulls. Their big men have all been banged up pretty bad. Otto Porter doubtful for the Bulls. It's very unlikely that he'll play. And also Wendell Carter Jr., but he has been upgraded to questionable. So he's 50-50. So another very important piece of information is to follow Carter and what he's going to do. He's been out a while, so I don't expect him, even if he does play, to get huge minutes, but it will impact everybody else, especially on that front line. Patrick McCaw from Toronto is questionable. He may get some minutes from a few of the ancillary guys there. Marc Gasol remains out for the Raptors. Victor Oladipo is questionable. That's a really good thing. It looked like he was going to be out for a while, but his lower back, I guess he's gotten some treatments, and he's thinking about possibly playing tonight. So keep an eye on him. He's 50-50, and that's the game against the Hornets. And it's an early game, so we should know exactly where he stands. Couple of question marks that we're on the other side of the coin not probably going to know, and they're super important, are the Golden State Warriors duo of Draymond Green and Marquise Chris. They are both listed as questionable 50-50. So that puts a big concern on that game. And unfortunately, Jeremy Lamb is out for the season. He tore his ACL. I knew when it happened, man. You could see it. It was similar, almost exactly the way Klay Thompson did in the playoffs. He landed on one leg, and it just turned the wrong direction. And take it from somebody that's torn his ACL. I know what that looks like, and I know what that feels like, and that is not fun. So, all right, there we go. For right now, that's what we've got. So not too bad of player news for 7 games. We had a much, much deeper group of player news yesterday. So this is a good thing. All right, let's attack this first game. It's a 7 p.m. Eastern game. It's the only early 7 o'clock game. So it is the regular lock time. It is the Charlotte Hornets at the Indiana Pacers. We've got Charlotte on the first end of a back-to-back, and Indiana is not on either side of a back-to-back. We have Indiana double-digit favorite here at 10.5, and super low over-under. I mean super low, 210, one of the lower ones you'll see. And right now, Indiana's an implied total of 110 and Charlotte 100. So interesting. As far as pace, you can sort of understand why this is such a low number. We have Charlotte dead last, slowest pace team in the league, and Indiana 24th. So they're not fantastic either as far as pushing the ball. Charlotte is 24th in defense, so that gives some of the Indiana guys a little look here. Indiana's 11th. They are pretty solid on the defensive side of the ball. So obviously, this first game on the slate, it's certainly something to look at. I want to see the Oladipo news because that does affect some things. The Jeremy Lamb news does change things a little bit for their bench guys. A little bit more time for guys like Justin Holiday and Aaron Holiday. But all in all, I think the only guy that I like on the Indiana side, but he is pricey, but he is in my player pool as of right now, and that's Domantas Sabonis. He's just, I think he's one of those guys that's getting that all-star lift from just that experience and being able to raise the level of his game. So he's the only guy I'm looking at on the Indiana side, and on the Charlotte side, I don't want anybody. So I get the 210 total, and I agree with it. I just don't think this is a game you want to target. You almost want to skip it all together. But if I can fit Sabonis in a few spots, I am going to do so. Second game, 7:30 p.m. game. It is the Milwaukee Bucks at the Toronto Raptors. We've got Milwaukee, a 1-point favorite, and they're on the second night of a back-to-back, and the game went to overtime. So they played last night. It was an overtime game. Giannis was in horrible foul trouble, so he did not play anywhere near his allotment of minutes. So I think he will be ready to go tonight. And Toronto is not playing on either side of a back-to-back. But Milwaukee is a 1-point road favorite at Toronto, so definitely one of the best games really of the year so far. I mean, this could be the Eastern Conference Final without any question. The total in this game is 231, so that's pretty solid. Second highest on the board. Considering both teams play such fantastic defense, that's an amazing number. Milwaukee in pace is first, and Toronto is 12th. So they're going to get up and down the floor, and that leads to their implied totals being very reasonable. Milwaukee 116 and Toronto 115. But here's the catcher, and I don't know how much weight you want to put into this, but I guess the quiz question is, who are the top 2 defensive efficient teams in the entire NBA? And of course, that would be Milwaukee and Toronto. So, yes, you have great players on both sides. Yes, you have a very competitive game that should go down somewhat to the wire based on what Vegas thinks and what the eye test would tell you. But you also have two of the better defense. Well, not the two of they are the two best defensive teams in the league. So, it's the big question here is, do you go back to Giannis? Obviously, for me, I'm a little biased because I played Giannis yesterday, as did, like 50% of the DFS world, or 40%, somewhere in there. So, immediately you get burned by a guy, you don't want to play him. That's usually the game plan. But in this scenario, with the fact that he was so frustrated yesterday, didn't play very many big minutes, and going to be very stoked up for this game, I think Giannis has to be your top pay-up guy. I really do. I know that Toronto defends, but, Kawhi Leonard's not there anymore, although the rest of those guys, Siakam and the gang, can really defend. But I just think Giannis comes out, knows this game is a statement game against Toronto. He knows how frustrated and poorly he played yesterday. So I'm going to go right back to the well. I refuse to believe that Giannis can lay 2 eggs in a row. I mean, he's not only the reigning MVP, but right now the leader for the MVP for this year. So, this is the type of game that those kind of guys usually step up. I'm not going to chase the Middleton and Bledsoe plays from yesterday. They really were playing against a defense that's not as good as Toronto, plus they were able to absorb all that usage when Giannis was picking splinters out of his butt on the bench. So, I'm not going to go there. I think it's going to be Giannis or bust for me on the Milwaukee side. The Toronto side is really interesting. I like Kyle Lowry quite a bit in this game. I just think that he is another one that raises up, for the big games. He's playing at a high level. He plays huge minutes. I like the matchup against Bledsoe. I just think Lowry's the best play on this team. I certainly wouldn't blame you for Siakam. I mean, he's certainly going to want to have a great game, but he will be guarded by Giannis, and Giannis is one of the better defenders in the league. So you've got to really think that one through. And also, obviously Van Vliet always deserves a mention. There are some secondary guys that you could look to go to here that have been playing well, but I'm going to just leave it to the big boys in this one. I think it's too big of a game, too important of a game. Too many of the key guys are going to play the majority of the minutes. And, I wouldn't blame you for going to multiple spots here, and making this somewhat a key game on the entire slate. So I know I'm going to be spending some major salary here, and I feel comfortable that it's going to be well spent. All right, let's go to game 3, 8 o'clock game. Oklahoma City Thunder at the Chicago Bulls. Right now the Thunder is a road favorite of 7 points. The total is 218, 112.5 for the Thunder, 105.5 for the Bulls, which is pretty bad. Second lowest to Charlotte on the whole board. As far as pace, Oklahoma City is 23rd, pretty slow. 15 for Chicago, middle of the pack. But defensively, these teams are pretty good. The Thunder's 10th, and the Bulls are 14th. So that defensive prowess there, plus all the injuries that the Bulls have, and all the questions, this game just does not look like a fantastic game. And I say that, but the last Chicago game ended up being a big DFS points bonanza. So, the usual suspects are here. I mean, I think Chicago plays pretty good backcourt defense, so I'm not going to look at Paul and Shea, but I get it. Gallo has the potential to be a decent play here. I think he would be the one guy from the Thunder that stands out a bit. I think that he, he has the potential to throw a big game up on the board, especially with the front line of Chicago all dinged up. On the Chicago side, it's interesting. I mean, Chris Paul is a pretty good shutdown defender. Shea does a decent job, but not great, but decent. And Schroeder off the bench is just average as well. Kobe White is just blown up ever since Chris Dunn went down. It's been Satoransky and Kobe. And I tell you, you got to look at him. I mean, at some point you got to buy in. I was stubborn and didn't want to believe the first game or second game. But, this guy, we knew he wasn't shy at all. He likes to shoot the ball, and he's been fantastic. The question is, who are they going to put on him? If Satoransky and he are in there and Paul goes on him, then I'm a little nervous. If it's Shea, I feel a little bit better. So that may switch and turn. Schroeder will probably guard up a little bit too when he comes in. But, Kobe's on my radar. I think he deserves to be on the radar. And he's been playing like a guy that definitely, could be rostered, especially in a GPP. As far as the bigs go for Chicago, you have some questionable tags there. Carter, we need to follow that very closely. They've been giving Felicio some time. Gafford's getting some time. I'm not crazy about any of them. Thad Young's probably the best option if you had to go somewhere there. But I'm not going to, this game is not going to be a key game for me whatsoever. I mean, we have a couple, 2-3 games that are just super stackable, like the Milwaukee-Toronto game 1. But there's also games that just look very like duds to me. Charlotte, Indiana, this game, and a few more down the line here. But I would say avoid this game as much as possible. Try to pluck out one or two guys that could step it up, maybe a Kobe or Young. So okay, game 4, we are rolling right along. I don't have Andrew or Mike slowing me down with all that senseless chatter. No, I'm kidding, guys. I love you guys. So we're rolling through today. No playing around. We're going to go right to the 9 o'clock game. So we have four games, 9 and earlier, and then we have 3 late night games. So it's going to be fun, full night of basketball for sure. The 9 o'clock game is the Detroit Pistons at the Denver Nuggets. This is the biggest spread on the board. Denver, a big fat 12.5 point favorite. This is only a 215 total, so it's second lowest on the board, even though we have the largest favorite. That generally smells a little bit like blowout potential, big time. The implied totals are Denver 113.5 and Detroit 101. As far as pace goes, this is why this is the third stinker game out of 4, if you ask me. The last 3 are definitely better. But it's 27th in pace for Detroit, Denver's second slowest team in the league. So you've got 2 of the 4 slowest teams in basketball. And then defensively, Detroit's 22nd, nothing to write home about. And Denver is 9th, so not bad at all. Tough game to figure, it's in Denver, so you got the elevation issue for Detroit. You've got them trying to sort of figure out who's in their rotation and who's playing the big minutes. They don't really have a true center, if you will, right now. I guess that, you have to consider the Joker just because of the front line of Detroit. But, you've got blowout concerns there as well. Neither one of these teams is on any kind of a back-to-back either way. So, my concern here is if you do spend up on the Joker and this game happens to blow out, there's no way that he's going to get additional minutes. Malone is not the kind of coach that plays his guys a bunch of extra minutes in a blowout. In fact, he tries to balance that out as much as possible. The Detroit side, I guess Christian Wood deserves mention because he's been very steady since everything has shifted. Brown's been terrific too, but he's 50-50 right now, questionable. So we need to keep an eye on that. Derrick Rose has been sort of disappeared. He looked like he was playing great ball before the break. I think the fact that he was expecting to get traded and get on a contending team, and the fact now that he's stuck in this total rebuild situation at his point in his career in Detroit, I've got a feeling he's not quite too pumped up about that. I think he's a fine option here because, especially if Brown doesn't play. But I need to see it with my eyes that the guy's playing hard. And right now, I think he's just playing in spurts. So I don't quite trust him at the price tag that he is, which is still reasonable, but not quite to the level of he's playing. Plus, they're playing a mixture of all kinds of guys back there with Svi and Snell and Galloway. It's just sort of a mess in Detroit without question. I'm not interested in Maker or any of those other guys. So, I really do think this game has blowout potential. And I'm not going to pay the price they're asking now for Christian Wood. So all in all, I pretty much just talked myself through playing anybody from Detroit and probably not playing anybody from Denver. Maybe the Joker if I see any news that breaks on Giannis or LeBron or Davis or something. The Joker is in the player pool. As far as other guys from Denver, Will Barton is back. He's not a bad option, but he hasn't been 100% healthy. Jamal Murray, certainly an option. I like Murray a little bit more for sure if Brown is out, because Brown is a very good defender. And if he's out, that's going to open up the floodgates for Murray. So that'll be one of those, Brown's in, I play. I don't play Murray. Brown's out, I play Murray. And other than that, I really don't want to mess with this game. So I'm going to have like 3 guys on my team going into the late game. So if you're following me at DFS Coach Talk or you're in our awesome Discord with our lineups, don't panic if we only have like 3 guys through the first 4 games. Let all those people chew up all their minutes with some of these bad players, and then we'll make a monster run in these last 3 late games. They're better games. Their totals are better. Other than the Milwaukee-Toronto game, which is awesome, these 3 games are markedly better than the other 3 games that we talked about: Charlotte, Indiana, OKC, Chicago, and Detroit, Denver. So don't get too anxious. You don't have to fill up your roster by any time constraints here. So especially that doubles for the sites where you can late swap, like DraftKings and Yahoo. So don't be afraid to stack these late games in that one in case there's any news. But I still think you can stack most of these guys, even in the no late swaps. I really do. All right, at the halfway point, I want to mention, a little bit over the halfway point. I do know my math. Want to mention a couple things. Again, DFS Coach Talk. We're going to be sending out a promotion tonight that we'll be tweeting out, and I'll give that little bit of a sneak preview here on the podcast today for our listeners. But we are going to do a drawing this weekend for we'll put out the rules to it, but you have to follow DFS Coach Talk and retweet and like the tweet when we send it out. But we're going to give away 5 week-long memberships at DFS Coach Talk, so that we can get 5 people that may want to look at it, interested, want to try it out first. So we'll set the time frame, we'll collect those, and then we'll do just a random drawing of 5. We'll tweet that out, invite them in Discord, and get some new people aboard to check out and enjoy. We're getting a nice sized group now in the Discord. It's a lot of fun to chat and follow the games and go back and forth with ideas, and it's a very, very great tool that we have. So it's fantastic. Also, you can hear us 7 days a week. We're free content. We do this. Generally, it's me and Mike or me and Andrew. Occasionally, I'll do a solo like this, but mostly you're going to get me as the DFS Pro, Cash Pro, and Michael and Andrew are the GPP pros. So they will be posting, Michael will be posting his 2 GPP lines in our Discord 30 minutes before lock tonight, as I will be doing with my 2 cash lineups. But you can hear us 7 days a week everywhere podcasts can be found. We are on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Podbean, iHeart, Spotify, and YouTube. All we ask every day is you take 15 to 30 seconds, rate, review, subscribe. That means a lot to us. We really, really appreciate that. Give us a thumbs up. Click that little alarm bell on YouTube so that it shoots you a reminder every time one of our new pods posts. The 5 stars on iTunes is massive because it gets us up the list of searches. So we really appreciate that. And if you have time on any of the forums to give a little positive review, that means a lot to us as well. We also are going to randomly choose. We're going to do this once a month. We're going to announce this today as well. Anybody that shoots us a positive review, we are going to do a drawing each Sunday show when we're doing the podcast. And it's going to be for 1 month membership free for our All NBA Access Pass. So that's sort of cool. So if you have a chance, even if it's just a couple of words, love the podcast, keep it up, anything like that, we love it. And you'll be in that drawing. It's surprising how many people don't really take the time to leave a lot of reviews. So, you may have a 1 in 8 or 1 in 12 chance to win a month membership. So that will be fantastic as well. So we appreciate that. We really want you to get involved with us. And we love the fact that we feel like we bring the best DFS coverage on a daily basis from a content standpoint that's free above the paywall. And we're going to do that as we always let everybody know. We're not just in and out and doing 100 sports and not focusing. Basketball is our lifeblood. And as you can tell by the intro and outro music, we are really, basketball is our main sport and always will be. We are going to, add some things as we go, but this is where the roots of the show are always going to be. And we will follow all of the regular season, all of the postseason. We'll be supplying lines and being involved all the way through. Every time you can play DFS basketball, we're going to be there. We're going to be there through the NBA Summer League, which I made good money at last year. I'll actually be there in Vegas, which is frustrating because you can't put a DFS lineup when you're in Nevada. But I always have one of our my buddies, Mike or Andrew, put them in for me. But we'll also follow the Olympics. That's going to be fantastic. We had a blast with it last year in FIBA. We did pretty darn good. And we have a lot of listeners that joined in because of FIBA, especially Australia. I think we have 3 actual members already to DFS Coach Talk that are actually in Australia because they're able to play DraftKings over there. So pretty cool. So we'll follow through the Olympics. I did have a large following from, the Ukraine? I think I took a beating on who their coach was or something, and that was so funny. But anyway, we'll have a blast with that through the Olympics. We'll do all of preseason, then all of regular season again. So almost 11 months out of 12, you can play some type of NBA DFS. It's amazing. Who would ever think it would be that much year round? So, but especially with the Olympics this year, that really stretches the whole summer out. So good stuff. And remember, we have a 3-step process we recommend. Listen to the podcast every day. It'll be out early afternoon. Then follow up with following us on Twitter. You I gave out all our names there early. Follow us at DFSCoachTalk there on Twitter. See the information throughout the day. Watch the news that breaks. And then buckle in the third step, that last 30 minutes in front of your computer, laptop, phone. Don't drive and try to do it. I actually did that once, and I was very ashamed of myself. So you never do that when you're driving. I pulled over. Now I pull over, go to Starbucks if I have to finish up the lineups. And that last 30 minutes is important because we get the lineups for the early games released by the NBA. We get any final news of scratches. And inevitably, very often, something shifts that last 30 minutes that can change the whole slate. So we ask you to definitely jump in there with us. All right, the last 3 games on the board all happen to be late night games. 10 o'clock, New Orleans at the Los Angeles Lakers. First game for the Lakers since the with Kobe's memorial yesterday. Very emotional. That was very, very well done and very, very emotional. So hopefully you guys caught that. It was something else. The Lakers are a 7-point favorite, 239.5. Ding, ding, ding. We have a winner. They are the highest total on the board. Lakers with a gigundous 123.5 implied total, which is big. The Pelicans 116, very respectable. And as far as pace, New Orleans is third, and the Lakers are 13th. So pace-up game for the Lakers, just what they need to pile on the numbers. And defensive efficiency, New Orleans is 21st. Lakers are third, so they do defend well. So we get the big Zion against Davis, LeBron, and Ingram. This is going to be a very highly watched game, TV game, and everybody's going to be fired up for this. Let's look at it this way. Can the Pelicans keep this game close? Lakers haven't played great. Pelicans have certainly played better. I think this can be a competitive game. And if it's going to be a competitive game, it's got the highest total by 8.5 over any other game on the board. You have to look at some of the main players here. And again, I haven't rostered too many folks up to this point, at least in my initial builds. So this is going to be my first game where I spend some real big bucks and stack some folks up. I'm not going to play Zion. I'm going to fade Zion because I respect the interior defense of the Lakers too much. Davis and then the combo of McGee and Howard, they protect the heck out of the rim. I think Zion's going to have a little bit of a test here. I like Brandon Ingram. It's against his old Lakers team playing in LA. He still wants to be the alpha dog there, I think, along with Zion. And so I love Ingram tonight. I think he steps up and plays great. I think he's going to have a good game, and I think that his usage will be up. I think Drew Holiday is also a nice play. He's a veteran of this team and holds them together. And then you've got the Lonzo Ball. Obviously, Lakers revenge tactics here as well, and Josh Hart too. So, you got that pool of Lakers dudes that came over in the Davis trade, and I think they're all in play. I think they're very much in play. On the Lakers side, I'm LeBron all the way. I almost said Kobe. Good God. I'm LeBron all the way here. I think that he's the best play on the slate for me. I think he's just a lock and load. I just think he steps up. The pace is great. I don't respect the defense that much on the other side for who's going to be guarding him. I think he does whatever he wants to do here. And if this game stays in single digits, I think he lights it up big time. As far as Anthony Davis goes, I like him. But I don't like him as much as LeBron. I think he's going to get a lot of ownership. Yes, it's against his old Pelicans team, but that's sort of getting a little old now from his side, I think. And, the Pelicans don't have a great interior defense. They're a little undersized there with, Favors and Zion and such. And, Jackson Hayes isn't going to get it done in there. Melly, when he plays, is just a horrific defender. So, I have no problem if you want to not play Giannis early and stack both Lakers bigs here. I mean, you could put 75% of your salary spent in this game, and I would not think you were doing it wrong, because this game should be up and down. I think Ingram will be involved with a lot of that, and I think LeBron and AD will be involved in a lot of that. A couple of the other guys you could add in here that could get enough run to really make a dent from the Lakers side. I would say I don't trust the McGee Howard thing anymore. I've been burned on that a few times. It's just not consistent enough. But Kuzma, this is the kind of game Kuzma gets in and can put up some numbers against the second unit from the Pelicans. So I think he also deserves a look. So that is going to be more than likely my highest owned game of the night. And I think it has, not just because it's the Vegas total, but because I think it has just a lot of upside there, big time. So there we go. We should dive into the race with that game at 10. Let's go to Game 6. It's also a 10 o'clock game. Interesting. It's Boston and Portland. You have Boston on the first night of a back-to-back, so that is a bit of a concern. They may not want to overextend some guys. Coach Stevens is generally pretty cautious with that on back-to-backs. I mean, he plays guys as minutes, but he's not going to, I don't see anybody rolling out there for 41 minutes, even with Kemba being out. So, there's a boatload of Boston plays. I guarantee you're going to get a lot of ownership. Tatum is going to be very highly owned, and he deserves to be. I think you also have to really look at Gordon Hayward, and you have to look at Jaylen Brown. Those two guys also deserve to be owned. I was all over Gordon Hayward the last game, because I know everybody, when Kemba's out, they want to play Wanamaker, especially want to play Marcus Smart, or they want to go to Jason Tatum. But I'm telling you, I've watched at least 2 or 3 games this year, pretty much of the game where Walker was out, and Gordon Hayward plays point forward a lot of the game. So he's got his hands on the ball. He's getting it done from a lot of different categories. Portland is not a good defensive team at all. And so I think, if you don't stack a couple of Celtics here, then that could be a mistake. I mean, I'm going probably a duo of like Hayward and Jaylen Brown. Tatum is a little expensive because I want to spend a lot in that Lakers game. So you got to balance out a little bit of who you play. If you want to go to Tatum there also, I wouldn't blame you a bit. But that's the main group that I'd play. I know Tice went absolutely nuts the last game, but I don't expect that at all against Whiteside. So I think you go with that core 3 there. And, for some of the sites where you can really stack up guys, in position isn't as big of a difference, and the salary's a little different, you may even want to play 3 because Portland does not defend. That 223 total and 115 implied is pretty solid. I don't remember if I went over the so I'm going to mention them again. Boston pays 16, Portland 11. Boston's 4th defensively, but Portland is a paltry 26th. Therefore, the Boston side. Then on the Portland side, to me, it's simple. I mean, let's face it, when Dame's out, it's very hard not to roster CJ. I mean, if they're even going to think about staying in this game, and you are going to play a couple of Boston guys, you almost have to correlate it with CJ McCollum. I mean, he went completely nuts the last game. I don't think he'll do that against Marcus Smart and some of the Celtics, but, man, it's hard not to play him. It really is. The only other theory you can go with here is Boston may blow them out. And if you really believe that, then maybe only one Boston guy and then just leave the Portland side alone and save the money for these other big games. If you want to try to correlate a little bit and you are rostering possibly 2 Celtics, you got to come back with somebody on the Portland side. If it's not CJ, Carmelo is an option or Whiteside is an option. It's just that Whiteside has become so expensive, it makes it tough. But that's really the only way I see that game. I think that it is a key game in the slate as well. All right, last game, Late Night Sweat. It does start 30 minutes later than any other game, so that qualifies it. Is the Hammer Sweat game of the night. Sacramento Kings at the Golden State Warriors. It is Sacramento, a 6.5-point road favorite. Not words that I thought I would say all in the same sentence, but it is true. The over-under, 222.5. So 222.5 implied, 114.5 for Sacramento and 108 for Golden State. As far as pace goes, Sacramento, paltry 25th. Golden State almost right in the middle of the pack at 14. Sacramento, 19th on defense, and Golden State, 25th on defense. So certainly a reason here and there that you want to play some of these guys based on the poor defense on both sides. And there's a plethora of guys that you could play here. You can pick and choose. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities. Certainly Fox is in play, no question about it. He can throw up a monster game at any moment. I think you got to consider Hield and Bogdanovich, the shooters. Bjelica is playable in this type of situation. Those are the main guys that I'd go to. But I'll tell you what, this game is wide open. This is going to be the game where there's like 8 playable guys, and if you can choose the right, 1, 2, 3, or 4, depending on your build, not that it's just because it's a late game, but it's going to be a swing game without question. On the Golden State side, I've been really on the Poole and Damian Lee bandwagon. I think they're getting the majority of the minutes in the backcourt. The only guy really taking some of those minutes is Kai Bowman, but all 3 of them have played very well. And, I don't particularly respect Sacramento's backcourt defense. They do play slow, though. That's the only concern. But I think those 3 guards in Golden State are in play. I really do. And then as far as the front line with Golden State, I'm not comfortable really with anybody. I went to Pascal last time because I thought he would really step up. He got in some foul trouble and just didn't play that well. I mean, they're just not a very good team. Marquise Chris, I think he's on the list as well as possible injury possibility there. He can do okay depending on the game. He's somewhat hit or miss. I would really stick mainly with the 3 guards and see where they can fit into your build, and maybe finish it out with one of them. But that's really it. That is the entire 7-game slate. I think it's a terrific slate. There are tons of play up guys. There's some value plays. It should be a nice mixture. I think I'm going to be more on the stars and scrubs side, just slightly a little bit this time around, because of the Giannis's and LeBrons and Ingrams and guys like that. So I don't think that's a bad strategy, because you can get the so-called scrub side of that with some really good value plays with some of the people that are out. But again, the key news is going to be the key news this afternoon, and then up until lock, you want to really, really focus on that and follow that all the way through the day. And then jump on DFSCoachTalk.com, join the group, and jump in Discord that last 30 minutes so we can go over everything, do a little bit of brainstorming, and then put some winning lines up out there. So don't forget to watch for our Twitter tweet, I guess, as I want to say it, about the 5 weekly membership drawing that we're going to be doing. Remember to, if you can, please review so that you qualify for our month pass that we're also going to be giving away on Sunday. So we appreciate you doing those 2 things. And follow us on Twitter, DFS Coach Talk. We're at DFS Coach Talk. and we'll follow it through the day. And that is it, my friends. So I want to thank you all for joining us for the DFS Coach Talk podcast. For my fellow NBA pros, Michael Apotria and Andrew Hansen, I am Coach. We will look to catch you again tomorrow as we crush it in NBA DFS.